Yeah, thank you very much. Now, maybe let me start by also putting some examples in terms. When I was saying before that Egypt is innovative, I want to give a recent example. I mean, there has been recently a call of the digital innovation hubs over Africa, and 3 of the 12 finalists are from Egypt. That is just showing that the potential of innovation and startups in this country. The number of startups, I mean, was multiplied by 5 in the last 5 years. And just to give the examples of where they are working in the medical sector, I mean, AI-assisted radiology. They are working in smart agriculture, climate-smart agriculture, and they are working on healthcare. So this is a strong potential which is for everybody, not only the Egyptian market, but overall market. So the question is, how can we support these different innovators, these startups, I mean, to develop and to grow? So venture capital is one of them. So we are partnering with FMO, the Dutch financing institution, to develop and to have a number of projects and to invest in venture capital. So 2 examples also of fintech company, and interestingly, both of them on financial inclusion, which I think is also important, as Minister was saying in the previous panel. One is on creating virtual bank accounts for employees, and the second is to create digital payment systems for those who don't need, I mean, avoiding to get a bank account. So, I mean, this is quite interesting developments, which is very much about financial inclusion, interesting digital options, and then, I mean, we are supporting them, I mean, with FMO. Another example, which I think is quite important, is also a number of banks and partners and funds also want to invest, but as Gert-Jan Kopman, my Director General, mentioned in the previous panel, I mean, there is always a question of risk, particularly if you are developing new products. So here we are providing, the EU is providing, I mean, with FMO, a guarantee to the banks for them to serve the underserved segments, the youth, the women, also the refugees. So, I mean, this is something which we find quite interesting. So this is really the ambition also of the strategic and comprehensive partnerships, is to use our full toolbox. It exists, it's available, so we are ready to amplify.
Thank you. And I think one of the most important points that you all emphasize is that we all think about tech startups as kind of focusing on the tech sector, but in reality, a lot of their work focuses on the inclusion agenda, whether on financial inclusion, health inclusion, educational inclusion, by reaching out to unserved or underserved segments and delivering services for them. Now, let me jump to our panel, Ibrahim, Amal, and Munir, and just dig a little bit deep and maybe a fast conversation on what's happening in that space. So Ibrahim, we'll start with you. You're one of the partners in Sawari Ventures. It's one of the leading VCs in Egypt, more than a decade old. Tell us a little bit about Sawari, maybe in 1 minute, and then we'll dig deep in what you do.
Okay, so Sawari, we are a Series A and B Pan-African investor. We invest in anything that is tech or tech-enabled, although we do like to focus more on deep techs. We have offices, we're based mainly out of Cairo. We have offices in Casablanca, in Dakar, and we're soon in Nairobi. Our entire thesis is built upon 2 main things. One, we need to be local, and when we say local, we mean across GPs and LPs, where we build capital formation. And the second thing has to do with building a sustainable platform. So Sawari, we started off, yes, as Sawari Ventures. We established Fat6 Labs. We built a platform that goes from pre-seed all the way to Series B, because we believe that's what was needed for the continent. It needs to be made by local players, empowering more local people. And as His Excellency alluded, we need to create managers who are able to build the future programs and become the future fund managers, because otherwise,
and how many startups have you invested in, Ibrahim?
So as Sawari, we invested in 36, 37. Okay. As Fat6 Labs, way beyond 300.
And deployed capital?
Deployed capital, from Sawarid, about $90 million, give or take.
Okay. Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, let me jump to Amal. Amal, you're a partner in 500 Global, which is a very interesting organization because it works with entrepreneurs at the early stage, and you're launching in Egypt. So tell us a little bit about 500.
Sure. So most people know us as 500 Startups, and that was the vision when they started in 2010. Most recently, in the last 3 years, we rebranded as 500 Global because we are present in over 80 countries, including Egypt. We made our first investment in the Middle East in 2012. The firm started in 2010. And that's how early in the firm's journey that we started investing in emerging markets. But we invested in Egypt in 2013. And that's over a decade of investing in Egypt. Today we have 65 portfolio companies in Egypt. Some of them are leading in whether in financial inclusion, healthcare, and I don't want to name names because people think they're my favorites, but they're favorites because they're performing so well. And for 500, the conclusion was that we've done very well in Egypt. Over a decade of investing in Egypt, we can say it's one of our top 10 performing markets, and I said we are present in over 80 countries. And that's for 3 reasons that have been mentioned throughout the last panel and right now. And talent. We believe innovation lives everywhere. It is backed by talent, and the talent in Egypt is extraordinary, just by the numbers we've heard on the number of graduates from STEM, and beyond not just university graduates, but it's really the number of institutions that have been operating in Egypt over the last 3 decades, whether it's Microsoft, IBM, Value, all these firms that have been graduating talent over the years, some of them present with us today, have been really giving back to the market and giving in numerous ways to entrepreneurship, whether as founders now leading the market or really engineers that are now leading in software development in Egypt. So the talent has been one of the biggest baits of why we are present in Egypt. And the second, which sometimes people say is debatable, it really is not. It's the stability of the market. I think vis-a-vis the rest of Africa and the Middle East, Egypt has just been a very large and largely also stable market for companies to operate and scale very cost effectively, and that's just been proven in a lot of our investments and how they weather different global and local storms because of the ability to pivot quickly in a market of that size and stability of a market like Egypt. And the third thing is honestly the B2G cooperation that we've seen. So 500 opened its first office in Africa in Egypt last year, and that was because of ITIDA. So we have a partnership with ITIDA that brought 500 to open and start launching programs here. We've incubated over 100 companies so far, and we're increasing our investment activity as a result of those programs. And that showed, just the strong government pull to not only grow the local ecosystem, but bring international players that can change the culture that the minister has talked about, because people don't see Egypt as a risk-taking culture, and entrepreneurship comes down to risk-taking cultures. And when you bring U.S. firms who are known for leading in entrepreneurship and from the Bay Area, and what do people look for when they look at the U.S. market? It's that risk-taking behavior of who's going to become the next Mark Zuckerberg, or who's going to become the next, I don't want to name again, because you never know. Sometimes